Okay, so this is a video on Evidence of Existence, the film, and we're going to slowly start releasing some videos out that give you a better idea of what the film's about.
We're going to talk a bit about the fact that it's a multi-format film, because again a lot of people don't quite know what that means, and so we want to go into that and why we decided to shoot on 7 different camera formats with 5 different narratives.
Let's break down the narratives first. Okay. So, you know, so the movie is built up on 5 different narratives. There's 5 different sets of characters, and each one is shot on a different camera system. And in each narrative, we follow these characters in their own world, but the film is also about how they affect one another without necessarily even actually meeting.
Mm-hmm. One is called the Lemmings theory. It's about a guy suffering from agoraphobia who's trying to break away from the system. Number 2 is called The Alchemist. It's about 2 struggling actors who come up with a plan to get rich and make it big. Number 3 is a director, a big Hollywood director. He's not very well liked with the public, but you know, people love his films. Number 4 would be Def Allegretto, which is about a girl who is basically kidnapped. The 5th format is called The Odd Job Guy. It's about a hitman who is going through a moral dilemma.
We knew that Greenwich had a wide range of film formats, and you know, we really wanted to just tap into that. We had 16mm available to us, Super 35mm available to us. There was Red Cam that was going to be available, and we also had just better intermediate digital cameras like the Sony EX3. And as the film went on, you know,
the Canon cameras were coming up at that point. Yeah.
The Canon cameras are these digital stills cameras, photography cameras that now shoot video, and they look very good because of the lenses they use.
And we had to try and find someone who actually had the camera, who would be willing to come on board as a producer and maybe just let us use the camera to shoot one of the parts of the film.
But then we found ways to incorporate 2 other formats. One was just standard definition mini DV, same camera that we used to shoot the making of. And the other one was
the Del Streak.
The Del Streak format, which is actually just a mobile phone. You know, we were able to eventually see which one was going to be best suited to which. So we had, for example, the narrative of The Alchemist that Adam just mentioned, which is the 2 actors, 2 up-and-coming actors trying to get ahead of themselves in life and make it big.
Look, mate, we're not here to be a part of some shitty budget production of Uncle fucking Vanya.
We thought, great, perfect, let's shoot them on the Sony EX3, which is that intermediate digital camera, which you know, doesn't have the most cinematic look to it. It has a bit more of a reality feel to it.
Yeah. And
the fact that it's digital as well adds to that. 35mm, so you got your director character. You know, big Hollywood director, makes total sense of shooting on 35. You know, very polished, he's very well known. He's a celebrity basically.
Yeah.
And
it gives you that feel of class, doesn't it? It's like a class of film. So if you've got a low budget EX3, you know that there's not much money put into it. So you immediately feel that that character is lesser in their class. So the director being 35, immediately you think, wow, he looks really professional and looks really great. And for that reason, we shot that particular character on 35.
16mm. So what you get from 16mm is something that is lesser quality than 35, but it still has a very nice cinematic feel to it. It's a little bit more gritty, it's a little bit more grainy, and this suited the narrative of the Lemmings theory quite well.
Starting with the 16, I mean, using a 16 is hard work, but we thought perfect because it's, you know, it's grainy, you can use different film stocks, and you can play around with it, and so for that reason we thought, perfect, he's on a downhill spiral, so let's start it with 16mm and slowly get more and more grainy as he goes downhill and as the film kind of progresses, so by the end of it you end up just, his narrative looks so much different.
Then you get this added addition to your palette, which is film stock. And each film stock carries its own characteristics. So, for example, we shot the beginning of this story on what is known as a very slow stock, which has a very tight grain structure, so it doesn't look too grainy. And that was perfect for the beginning of that character's story, where he's more composed and he's on the beginning of his downward spiral. And then towards the end, we started shooting in the faster stocks, which create much more grain and look a lot more gritty.
The narrative's getting darker and darker and darker until eventually it gets so dark that you can barely even see him. He's in the loft and he's candlelit.
And then we also did, again, there's an extension to your palette even more with film stock, is certain post-production processes you can do. And we added a bleach bypass, which basically just really deteriorates the image a lot more. It desaturates it, it adds more grain, or adds more visible grain to the image. So a Death Allegretto, because we were shooting that in green screen studio, digital format was best because that gives you a nice clean image for working with in post-production and doing visual effects too, etc. So that was just a natural fit. Plus we wanted a very nice cinematic quality for that film. So shooting with the red camera was, you know, without a doubt the best option there. Shooting with a very expensive camera like that is very difficult to get out on location, but it was much easier to use in a studio environment. So that was another reason for shooting a Death Allegretto on the red camera.
And green screen.
And green screen. And then that leaves us with our final narrative, which is the Odd Job guy. Because we were shooting with the Canon photography camera, we got very good quality cinematic images out of that, and that was the main benefit. Plus there's certain characteristics to those digital cameras as well, where they boast a little bit more colour in the reds and the browns, and that was the perfect kind of complement to that style of story, and also the locations we ended up using. So perfect, really.
Well, the good thing was you had a DSLR camera yourself, so it meant us going there and getting a kind of rough idea on how it could look in the actual final.
Yeah, absolutely. You can take any DSLR camera, go on location, and you can get a pretty good estimate of what you're going to end up with when you come around to shooting. That's a nice benefit.
Yeah. It's nice that you can look at the film and it's not just HD all the way, you know. There is SD in there as well, so you will get, again, a diverse look, even with the both digital formats. Then you've got the challenge of trying to make the digital formats look actually just different to each other, and shooting on SD, you automatically get that low quality look, and for that reason it worked out quite well to use that as well. And then for the Del Streak, which was our 7th format in the film, was the Del Streak is just a mobile phone. So we thought, let's go all out, let's shoot on the mobile phone as well, and again that had a nice place for the film.
We even managed to use a mobile phone camera to actually shoot or help construct an animation sequence, which features in the movie.
I mean, we'll probably go into the animation sequence in another video as well, just to help, you know, explain that. But again, we deciding to shoot on a mobile phone for reference, and then afterwards bring it into post, play around with it, do all the, you know, all the rotoscoping, stop motion you want, and better than bringing out a very expensive camera format just to get rid of it all in post. So
yeah. Okay, so that kind of covers the narratives, and that also covers the camera formats in the movie.
A multi-format film.
Multi-format movie.